You ever wonder what makes one spooky story just kind of fun, but another one actually crawls under your skin and just stays there? Well, we're going to deconstruct that feeling. We're going to look at the architecture, the blueprint of what makes certain stories so deeply, truly unsettling. So let me ask you this. What is it that makes a true story truly terrifying? It's usually not some monster or a ghost, is it? Nope. The horror that really gets to us today, it taps into something much more real, something way, way closer to home. And it turns out this very specific kind of modern fear, it has a blueprint. And by looking at three chilling and supposedly true accounts, we're going to map it out piece by piece. Okay, let's dig in. Right. Part 1. Every great horror story has to start somewhere, and for this blueprint, it always begins by corrupting the one place we're all supposed to feel absolutely safe, our home. I mean, think about it. Our first story kicks off with a couple moving into the home we've been dreaming of. The second, a woman finding a new apartment, a fresh start, to get away from a bad relationship. And the third, a family renting this big Airbnb for a vacation they desperately needed. Every single story starts by setting up a sanctuary, a place of hope. But that feeling of safety, it gets dismantled fast. In that first story, it doesn't start with some big jump scare. It's small, a guy just staring from a window. Then, suddenly, there are men in their private garden. And from there, it just escalates, whistling and tapping on their bedroom window at 2:16 in the morning. A little later, their Ring camera is gone, the evidence stolen. And then finally, the threat becomes impossible to ignore. Two masked men, one holding a crowbar, caught on camera. It's just a masterclass in how to slowly, methodically turn a dream into a living nightmare. And this is not a one-off. This pattern, violating a place that's supposed to be safe, is the first pillar of our blueprint. In story 1, it's trespassers in the garden of their dream house. In story 2, it's a cryptic, really threatening message left on a flipped-over doormat right outside her apartment. And in story 3, it's this violent, loud banging on the garage door where children are sleeping. The message in all of them is crystal clear. You are not safe where you live. Now, messing with your physical space, that's just the beginning. The second element is where the fear really starts to build, because these antagonists, they rarely use straightforward physical violence. Their weapon of choice is way more insidious. It's all psychological. You see, the real goal isn't to break your bones, it's to break your sense of reality. It's about creating this constant, gnawing paranoia where the victim starts to question their own sanity, what they're seeing and hearing, and they feel unsafe literally no matter where they go. And this brings us to this incredible term from the second story, psychological graffiti. The narrator actually coins this phrase to describe how her ex seems to be getting total strangers to repeat his private phrases to her. It's a perfect description of the strategy. He's spraying his presence all over the world around her so she can never, ever truly escape him. And this isn't about simple threats. I mean, look at this. In the first story, a masked man stands in their yard, arms out like he's on a cross, just staring up at their bedroom window. There's no logical reason to do that, except to be as bizarre and as unnerving as humanly possible. And in the second story, this handwritten note is found on the back of her doormat. It's not a direct threat of violence, but it's so much worse, isn't it? It's a promise of constant surveillance, a declaration that it doesn't matter how you try to hide or change, you will always be found. Then, in the third story, after all the banging, the family finds jester cards left on the property. And as one of them points out, jesters, these symbolize mockery. The card itself, described as demonic-looking, sends this chilling message. You're the butt of a very sick, twisted joke, and we're the ones laughing. Okay, so your home has been violated, your mind is under attack. What do? Well, you call for help. But the third, and maybe the most gut-wrenching piece of this blueprint, is what happens when that call goes completely unanswered. It's a fundamental fear, right? To be in genuine danger, to reach out to the people who are supposed to protect you, and to be met with total and complete indifference. This is where horror solidifies into just absolute terror. This quote from the first story, it's just devastating. After weeks of escalating harassment, which culminates in a masked man staring at their house, this is the official response they get. The very system that's designed to help them basically says, yeah, you're on your own. And what this does is create a terrifying cycle. A threat shows up, you do the logical thing and call for help. But that help is dismissed or just denied. And just like that, you are completely, utterly isolated with your tormentor. You are trapped. And this failure, it can take a lot of different forms. In the first story, it's clearly the police. In the second, the threat is so clever and so anonymous. I mean, how do you report a random stranger for saying a weird phrase? That reporting is basically impossible. And in the third story, it's just institutional indifference from an Airbnb host who says he'll check the security footage and then is never heard from again. So, we have the three core parts of the blueprint: a violated sanctuary, psychological warfare, and total isolation. But there's one last element, sort of a missing piece, that elevates these stories from just scary to truly unforgettable. The blueprint for this kind of modern fear is now complete. But the really terrifying part isn't what's in the story, it's what's missing from the end of it. 0. That's the number. That's how many clean resolutions we get in these stories. 0. Definitive answers, 0 people caught, the threat is never actually neutralized. The terror doesn't end when the story does. And this is what makes these stories so deeply unsettling. They defy all of our expectations for how a story is supposed to work. We expect a final fight, a confrontation, but the harassment just keeps going. We want the villain unmasked, but we never find out who they are. We crave a solved mystery, but the biggest questions are left hanging there forever. And that really is the ultimate takeaway. The true horror lies in that ambiguity. It's the knowledge that for these people, the nightmare isn't over. They have to wake up every single day not knowing if or when it's going to happen again. The most terrifying stories, they're the ones that never truly end. Which leaves us with one last lingering thought, doesn't it? If these stories have no ending, and the people responsible were never caught, who's to say it's not happening to someone somewhere right now?